Hey everyone, welcome to Weekly Wine Comic Time. I am your host, Niko.
And I'm Christine.
This is the comic book review show where we discuss new single release comic issues week to week, and I'm very proud to announce that Christine has now caught up on her stack of issues that she was backlogged on.
I'm finally current.
So, from now moving forward, as long as we can keep on track, we'll be talking about a lot of the same books every episode that we both read. There's certain titles that individually we both read on our own, but for the most part, we read a lot of the same titles, so that'll be good.
It's exciting.
Yeah. Once again, thanks to everyone who's checked in on their show so far and listened. And without further ado, we'll get into the wine segment of the show. Christine will let you know what we had today.
So today we had a repeat. So this was the Bodacious Moscato. It was just a great summer wine. It's got a lot of flavor and it's got some carbonation. It's easy to drink. It's a delightful wine.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, after the night we just had the other night,
we needed something light.
After work drinks, we figured we'd just have this prior to recording. So, yeah. All right. So, I think you'll be starting us off with the reviews also tonight, Christine.
Yes.
You have one more book than I had tonight. You had 6 to my 5.
Yes.
Yeah. So, if you want to get started.
Okay, so I just finished reading this and I have questions. So we need to talk about it. This is the House of X
Yes.
episode, issue 2.
Yeah.
The House of X, issue 2. And this is by Jonathan Hickman with artist Pepe Larraz. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, Pepe Larraz,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so this was an issue regarding a character, Moira.
Yeah, Moira
And
McTaggart.
what I want to know is that her powers are reincarnation.
Mm-hmm.
But is it like a Groundhog Day?
Yeah, so that's one thing that wasn't clear to me while reading this either. Essentially, it seems like whenever she comes back to life, because this issue, and for the record, this is a newly established thing.
Yes.
This is why this was apparently making headlines, because this is a big deal, because she was never a mutant prior to this.
Okay.
This is like some Jonathan Hickman idea of
Okay.
Moira McTaggart. So Moira McTaggart, as far as I know, and again, I don't know everything about the X-Men because it's
a lot.
Yes, but she was also portrayed in the movies. She was in Days of Future Past, if you recall. Most recently, she was played by Rose Byrne in those movies. But yeah, she's just basically a geneticist who fell in love with Charles Xavier. So that part is in one of her lives, or a couple of them in this book. So Jonathan Hickman is establishing the fact that, yeah, she has a mutant power, and she can basically come back and reincarnate and relive her lives. So in this, you basically see that she had, again, there's that number 10.
Yes.
That she recurred her life, like she
reincarnated herself now 10 times. Yes.
Yeah, and they all played out differently. Most of the time, not in their favor. But for whatever reason, whatever occurred in that last 10th timeline there, she said something to Charles, I guess essentially probably let him know what she was.
Well,
I'm guessing. We don't know, because and apparently, like, Marvel, prior to this book coming out, hyped it up by showing you that scene where she whispers something to him and it changes, like, everything. So, like, I guess it's something that changed his initial vision moving forward, obviously, for what occurs. And then eventually it becomes that whole House of X thing in that timeline, right? So, like, yeah, who's to say? I mean, well, I guess we'll find out. But my question was, and I think what you were referring to, was the fact that, like, when she died, it was almost like it restarted the timeline. Yeah.
So it doesn't continue.
Exactly.
The entire world resets back to when she is reincarnated.
Yes. And I don't think he explained that well enough, because as you were reading that, you're like, well, doesn't life continue on?
Yeah.
No, apparently it doesn't, because she just goes back.
She's like the start of everything in that weird point in time.
Or that timeline does exist. It's just
somewhere.
Yes. Because, when it comes to time travel, these paradoxes, or whatever the fuck they call, like, those things, like, I guess time paradox is when you mess up the time stream, right? But it's one of those things where it's an infinite loop, that whole bullshit where it'll always go back to basically where it was, like, where it's supposed to be. Anyways, time travel shit is a headache. But yes, essentially that's how I felt about it too. It wasn't clear enough, but she resets the timeline essentially, and it's whatever, I guess, timeline she's currently living in that we're going to be observing. But that's why at the end he shows that chart.
No, I know.
That shows you where each timeline ended up.
Yes.
But every time she dies, she came back. So it seems like this is the winning timeline that she's in right now, the 10th one, like the 10th reincarnation of hers.
Yeah.
And like at the end of the book, you get 3 pages of just like an ongoing chart of them showing you where each timeline that she lived, like each life of the 10 lives she lived would end up. Like even each story beat, like this happens 19 years in, this happens 22 years in, you know what I mean? Like, to her, and then you see some of them were cut short by her getting killed earlier than other times, right? So I hope I answered your question then. Yeah, that's what I got out of it as well. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really enjoyed this entire book. The art and everything is really great. Jonathan Hickman's editions are always really welcomed into these books, and it really does help with the story. So I gave this a 5.
Yeah, I mean, I also gave this a 5. I'm loving this series. I know we only got 1 issue of the Powers of X, or 10, whatever the fuck it's called, last week. Compared to this now being 2 issues of House of X, but I've enjoyed the House of X stuff a little bit more, I think, than the Powers of X, but everything is building off of one another, like Jonathan Hickman had stated this series was going to do.
Yeah, and it's like amping up.
Well, yeah, the fact that they're doing them weekly is great. Like, you get an oversized issue every week, so like it's really enjoyable, and he's putting game-changing stuff into motion in the X-Men.
I know it's the first X-Men book I've read. Well, that's in the main storyline.
Yeah, and that being said, I know I said because you like Hickman, I'm like, jump on with this. Mm-hmm. This is not an easy start for people that have never read the X-Men. Yeah. I know that they kind of were like, hey, you got to kind of give them a little bit of your trust. Like, you got to trust them to kind of lead you.
Guide you into it, yeah.
Yeah, but admittingly, after speaking to other people, this is not an easy sell for people that are not familiar with the X-Men. Like, he's doing a good job explaining what is occurring in each issue, but unless you have, like, some sense of these characters, it's a little difficult. So, like, I'm even going ahead and reading articles after I read these to kind of get a little bit more insight into it, or listening to other comic podcasters I enjoy, right? So we'll take the journey together and discuss it on this show. But yeah, this was great. Pepe Larraz, the artist, has never looked better. I think this is probably like the biggest book he's been on at this point, but I've been watching him kind of do work at Marvel the last couple of years, and he was always good, but he's definitely leveled up, I think, with this X-Men stuff, and yeah, it was great. I loved seeing the different timelines. I loved this new edition of the Moira McTaggart and how that's going to play out, with her being a mutant and essentially changing whatever Charles Xavier's dream was. Like, that's what I'm getting from it so far anyways, so we'll see how everything plays out. But yeah, just another great addition to this series. Great stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah. All right, so my first book up is Berserker Unbound. This is the first issue from Jeff Lemire and Mike Deodato Jr., which is worth noting that this is his first creator-owned book after being at Marvel for like 20-something years.
For a long time,
since like I think the early 90s he's been there. Oh, wow. So like, yeah, so this is a big deal for him, and this book was hyped up when he left because him and Jeff worked on the Thanos book prior to Donny Cates. They had an arc on that together, or two, and Mike Deodato Jr. has never been my favorite artist. I'm not a huge fan of his artwork, but I will say on this book he brought it all. So like sometimes these guys, when they go to these creator-owned things, they are like reinvigorated. I feel like
they have a new passion.
Well, yeah, they have a hand in owning the rights to this property, and it brings something
special
new
to it.
Yeah, I don't know, for whatever reason you see that a lot of the time with these artists. Like, not to say that I'm sure he wasn't trying at Marvel, but like he had been doing Marvel books for so long, so like I'm sure towards the end he was kind of just like
became force of habit type of thing.
Yeah, he was phoning a lot of the shit in, and that's why a lot of the time I wasn't a fan of his stuff. I mean, he's changed his style over the last couple of years. But this looked really good. There was a couple of fucking scenes. There's that one double page spread where it's basically like flipped on its side. Like,
yeah.
And as he's going into like that vortex that
falling through it
takes him to Earth. And yeah, essentially that's what this kind of was. Like the easy sell for this book is Conan on Earth.
Yeah.
Like, he lived in like this barbarian lived in his own timeline. And I guess, he went to war and his wife got killed, I guess, and then something occurred where he got sucked into like this portal which sent him to, another dimension that brought him to Earth, like our Earth. So like when he wakes up, like he's found by like some homeless man. He's like
he thinks he's trying to steal his stuff.
Yeah. So like this is just a very first issue basic startup of a series. This is only going to be a 4-issue miniseries, but like knowing Dark Horse, and if this takes off, I wouldn't be surprised if they do a number of miniseries of this character.
Yeah, like Unbound and then something else.
Right.
And...
So I'm sure that's what they have planned, even though they haven't, I think, announced
They
that.
just got to see if it takes off.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's cool that Jeff and him, started a relationship over at Marvel, and then he got him to leave to basically do his first creator-owned work. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, this was fine. I didn't have any problems with this. Like I said, the art looked good for Mike Deodato Jr. I'm not a huge fan of his, but I mean, he does draw a good fucking barbarian, and these bloody fights that he gets into as we kind of get the first half of the book, you kind of setting up the character and his world prior to him coming to Earth. It was all really well done. Jeff's writing was fine in it. I wasn't blown away by this first issue just because it was a very basic setup, just because it's got so much, you feel like so much like it's like a Conan type story. And this is at a time where we've been reading Conan from Marvel again. So like, I wouldn't say like this kind of stood above anything that I've been reading with Conan right now, but
yeah, I agree.
But it was an enjoyable start, and I trust Jeff, and I like reading his stuff, so I had picked this up basically just based off that, even though I'm not a hugest Mike Deodato fan. So, so I give it a 4. I did enjoy it, but it was just like a basic. I'm looking forward to what comes next.
Yeah, how anything, it's gonna continue
now that he's on Earth. Yeah.
I had the exact same feelings. I also gave this a 4.
Yeah.
It, again, like you said, it's very Conan-esque. If this had come out, last year, right before Conan pretty much had a launch,
right,
this would have been huge,
right,
because you're finally getting a new Conan type of story. Mm-hmm. But like you said, with already us reading Conan in a couple of different books now, this was good.
Yeah.
It wasn't, like you said, blew me away. The art I thought was good. The layouts were a little bit different.
Yeah, you notice how he does that thing where it's kind of like some grid paneling
it's
on
like
an
one,
open image?
Yeah, it's like one image and then panels in that image.
He's been doing that for the last couple of years now. This is what I meant by his new style.
Okay.
Like you can see there's a lot of cross-hatching going on, but like he's, I think, primarily digital, so
yeah,
the way he does the layouts are a little weird at times.
Yeah, like it looks good. It just sometimes I don't understand why.
Yeah, like why are you centering in on this image?
Yeah.
Like, right? Like I know that's what I mean. Like. But to be fair, this for me, and like I said, I'm to the point where there'd be books sometimes where I didn't want to pick them up because he was the artist on it.
Okay.
This looked good for him.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
Oh, I had nothing wrong with the art. I thought it was good, and I don't know him from anything previous to really go off of.
Well, the next book I'll talk about, you know him from at least, but that was also a recent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I gave that a 4 as well.
Yeah.
So my next book is Superman Up in the Sky. This is issue number 2, and this is by Tom King and Andy Kubert. So this I thought was pretty fun. The first few pages is Superman in a boxing match where he has none of his powers, and he's just like fighting to the bloody end with I don't know who this guy is, but they keep saying, "Oh, I know you, I know you, I know your limits."
His name's like Mito or something.
Yeah.
They say it on the first page as they introduce him. I don't know if he's a pre-established character. I've never heard of him before.
Oh yeah, Mito.
Yeah, but like he
the
has,
mightiest mercenary.
The only powers they have is their strength and invulnerability. Otherwise, he can't use any of his other powers.
No, he doesn't have his flight. He doesn't have he just has strength basically. So yeah, I thought that was pretty good. And he has his perseverance, which we all know that once he gets something in him, he's got to follow through. So that really pretty much saved the day for him in that round. And then all of a sudden you see him in space just floating there like a bloody mess. And aliens pick him up. And that I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a lot of fun. I don't know if I want to spoil the ending of it.
Yeah, and maybe leave that one.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought this was a really good issue. I gave this a 4. It didn't blow me away, but I thought it was a really fun, enjoyable issue.
Yeah, I don't know. So far, we're on the same page today. We're sharing a lot of the same thoughts. I also gave this a 4. My favorite part of this story was, like you said, though, by the end, they get to, like, round 12, and the other fighter is basically just, like, hanging on by a thread, exhausted, and he's just like, listen, I'm just going to save myself the extra pain I'm going to go through here, and I'm going to lay down and give up. Like,
which is exactly what he told Superman to do, but ended up he just took
like,
his own advice.
He's like, save yourself the pain. Yeah. He's like, don't, he's like, you're not as strong as me. Like, if it's just based off strength, I'm faster. Yeah. I'm stronger. Like, he's like, I'm going to win.
Yeah.
And, like, and he's just like, he keeps saying to him, he's like, just give up. Like, he gets around, and then, like, by the time, like, you know, because you see different pages for different rounds, and then, like, each time it's just like Superman's like, no, I can't give up. I can't give up. I gotta get back up.
Yeah.
And I think that was a really good representation for what he stands for. Yeah, you're right. I think that, like, for me, that was the biggest takeaway from this issue.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up, I got Savage Avengers number 4. This is written by Jerry Duggan, also art by Mike Deodato Jr. And color art also by Frank Martin, who actually also colored Berserk Unbound. I forgot to mention, but that's worth mentioning because he's a good colorist and has worked with Mike Deodato Jr. a lot. So here's the thing with this issue. It's almost as like, because I think Mike Deodato Jr., although they just released Berserker Unbound and they announced that he was leaving Marvel, he had already finished, I guess, this arc of Savage Avengers. Yeah. So he's a fast artist. That's another reason why he gets a lot of books. He can crank out probably 2 books a month, this fucking guy, the way I've seen him do it. So he's on this series until issue 6, I think, for the first arc.
Okay.
So we're going to still be seeing both these books come out at the same time with his work on it.
So Conan and Berserker.
Yeah. And I actually also didn't mind his work on this series prior to Berserker coming out, because again, you got Conan in this, you got like a lot of, you know, like Punisher, like a lot of action.
Yeah.
Like, it's stuff that he's good at, as you saw in Berserker Unbound on drawing. But it's almost as if after the last issue, around this time, he got the Berserker Unbound job, and all of his fucking good work went into that book, because this was, like, the worst issue I think he's drawn of this series. It's almost like as we were talking about phoning stuff in, this did not look good, this issue. Like, in comparison, this issue looked like shit. I didn't even
realize that it was the same artist.
It's the same artist, yeah. So there you go. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, it's almost as like coming out in the same week did not look good for him, because if you picked up both these books, you're like, wow,
what
he
happened?
Really kind of phoned it in. And he's
especially since the colorist is the same too. Yes. Like, the team is the same.
It looked a lot darker. It seemed like they had to embellish like his art maybe a little bit more, because it probably was maybe just very much like more basic, rough digital pencils or something, because he works digitally for the most part. Anyways, so first off, the art wasn't that great in this issue, and second off, it kind of just lofted about this one. I don't know, it's just like, I've enjoyed this series quite a bit so far, but in this one, you kind of, at the end of the last one, this creature that this dude's been trying to resurrect through blood of these warriors, basically, you know, he comes to life at the end of last issue, and then this issue is mainly them just fighting him off. But it kind of is like retreading a lot of the same shit. Like, you know, like Frank's like, oh, where's my family? And
it's a lot of repetitive.
Yeah, and like there was like barely any Wolverine action in this. Like, you see him kind of stabbing the monster, but you got like really no dialogue from him.
Yeah, and then he shows up at the end like, ha!
Yeah, so like, this was just a lot of fighting that kind of went nowhere. It kind of progressed the story a little bit. You know, they look like they're in real big trouble, but yeah, other than that, it was just kind of, I don't know, it just treaded water a little bit for me. Like, it kind of just repeated some of the same story beats that we've visited already through this first arc, but so I gave it a 3.5. For me, it was probably one of the weaker issues of the series.
I swear we're not planning this, guys.
Oh, really?
I also gave it a 3.5. I just feel like with this book, I loved the first issue. Second issue was third issue, great, and then fourth issue again, like you pretty much hit everything. It was very like formulaic. We've already seen what they're putting out in the stories here. The art was subpar. Yeah, there's not much I can add to that. So yeah, I also gave this a 3.5. So my next book is Daredevil. This is issue number 9, and this is Chip Zdarsky and Lalit Kumar Sharma. So this issue I really liked. This was basically Daredevil, or Matt Murdock, because he's given up Daredevil, is losing his faith and he's trying to find it again. So he found Reed Richards and is speaking to him, being like one of the smartest people on earth, about what he thinks, if God is real. Then he goes to his church and is speaking to one of the nuns there. He's really trying to find himself again, it seems. And then you find, what's her name, Mindy, came back from the last issue and is kind of going through all of her internal struggles as well. And then, Daredevil ends up fighting some crime in this, finally. I quite enjoyed it. I gave this a 4. It was good.
Yep. Yeah, or if we continue to be on the same wavelength tonight. At first when we talked about this book, I said I wasn't a fan of this artist, but I think with each passing issue and coming to terms with the fact that the artist who launched the book is coming back, and this arc where he's not being Daredevil has actually been quite perfect for this artist, I think, because a lot of the time he's just sitting around drawing him talking with people and
having conversations.
There was a little bit of action in this one, but it looked fine. So I take back what I said. I mean, obviously he's still not my favorite artist for this title, but I think for the stories that are being told this arc, I think that he's been doing a good job. And also my favorite part of this particular issue was the opening scene with him and Reed Richards playing chess. I really enjoyed that quite a bit. Like a meeting of the minds kind of thing. But, Reed is so much smarter than he is. But the fact that he's coming to Reed to ask about religion, and does he believe in God? And him kind of approaching it from a scientist perspective, a point of view, and, kind of breaking down everything.
He wasn't really asking if he believes in God. He thinks, is
he
real?
Yeah, that's what I mean. But, but then he even said, well... he broke it down. He's like, well, me coming from a scientist perspective, he's like, I've seen some amazing things, so there's no way I can tell you he's not real, but do I have any evidence, to say that he is? No. So he's like, I just like how they... Because, that whole conversation, science and religion, and, the fact that he basically said, so you're an atheist, and he kind of, he's like, yeah, I guess so. You know what I mean? I just really enjoyed that, and he writes a great Reed Richards. He wrote some of him he did a Marvel 2-in-1 series before the Fantastic Four series relaunched again.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
The proper team. Yeah, it was really good. So it was nice seeing him write that character again. That was my favorite part of the issue, and everything else was good too. I like how they brought that woman back from last issue. I didn't think they were gonna do that. I like how that cop who is against the superheroes is struggling against his own workforce now because of the corruption that's in this city, right? And with Kingman being the mayor. So really good. I give it a 4. All right. So next up is probably the biggest release this week and the most talked about, other than Hickman's X-Men books, is the Absolute Carnage #1. This is written by Donny Cates, art by Ryan Stegman, inks by J.P. Meyer, and colors by Frank Martin. This was fantastic. Again, this was a really built-up event online. They've been doing a lot of promo for this series going into this, as well as within the Marvel books. And it paid off. I mean, for a big Marvel event, having to cross over in a lot of these books, this was a strong debut. I mean, I'm probably just going to stick to the ones I read like I normally do with these events, like the Spider-Man book and Venom book, and
Not branch out and buy everything.
Yeah, and first off, I will say, this is the best Ryan Stegman's ever fucking looked. Like, I know, and he's an artist I've been a big fan of for a long time, but he is one that I've seen year to year actually grow and work to kind of get better.
Yeah.
And, I mean, at first, early Ryan Stegman, he kind of reminded me of, like, a McFarlane-esque character. He's always done a lot of books with Spider-Man or Spider-Man in them. And whatever kind of he's worked on at Marvel, they've always found a way to kind of put Spider-Man in that issue, I guess, maybe because he loves drawing him, and as you know, he showed up in this, but of course he's going to be a big part of this event because, you know, with Venom and everything, Spider-Man, he should be in here. But yeah, I mean, the big thing about this event is, if you haven't heard or haven't been reading Venom, is they found out that a symbiote, whenever he attaches to somebody, they leave a strand of his DNA on your DNA. So, like, they're calling it the Codex. So, if a symbiote had latched onto a human at any point in time in the Marvel Universe, they have a strand of their DNA inside of them still, because it uses it to communicate back to the hive mind for the Null, the symbiote god that we got introduced to in the Venom book.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's almost like a transmitter to kind of, like, feed that information back to it and kind of be connected to, like, the main
everything.
Like, exactly. So now, in a desperation move, they're fucking scrambling to, like, remember who's all being affected by symbiotes in the Marvel Universe, which is a shitload of fucking people, because this is like an overplayed kind of, you know, gimmick that they've used even more recently in recent years in Marvel, like with the fucking symbiote.
Just throwing a symbiote on people.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, there's a double page spread in here where you just see, like, Wolverine, and you see, like, all these, like, different people that have been affected by the symbiote, and you realize, like, if the Carnage now is going to be tracking down these people to kill them and essentially absorb their power and become even more powerful.
Yeah, the more codexes he gets.
Yeah, it's just really bad. Like, it is really, like, you know what I mean? Like, an event, sometimes they try to make it, like, a big event, like, but the stakes are high. Things are never going to be the same again. Like, this
really feels like it.
Yeah, this actually feels like a big fucking deal. Like, within this one issue, I mean, this is an $8 issue retail, and it was oversized. It's like
it's huge.
Size. Yeah, it's the
like
size.
4 books.
Right. But what I loved about it is they didn't do that bullshit thing where they're like, here's 40 pages of the main story, and here, let's set up every other fucking miniseries.
No, this was just that story, which was awesome.
It was just this team. Ryan Stegman, like, throughout the whole fucking book. Like, that's what I loved about it. They're like, let's give you one big chunk of this story, not fucking 3 other stories.
And then with some shittier artists, and it just done really quickly. And
they do that all too often. I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
So for me,
well, didn't they say that this took like 6 months or something? Like, they started doing this in January?
Well, yeah, that's why Ryan Stegman hasn't been on the main Venom title.
He's been doing this.
So much so that Donny Cates didn't even write all the War of the Realms tie-ins.
Yeah.
Like, he stepped back. He was probably working on this, right?
For sure.
So, you know.
It was so worth it.
Yeah. Great start. And like I said, I can't say enough good things about the art. You know, J.P. Meyer was a new inker to collaborate with Ryan Stegman on Venom, so he's definitely added a bit to his work. I think that's worked out really well to his pencils. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to spoil much more other than that. That is the basic setup, but and I will say, Carnage looks fucking badass.
He looks terrifying.
Yeah, that scene when he first shows up and, like, how he's like a skeletal. Like,
and
almost,
he's just like a spine in a rib cage.
Yes,
and
and he's just basically ripping their spines out and attaching them to himself, like all the victims of dead people that have been affected by the symbiote.
Yeah,
man, so crazy.
It's brutal and fantastic.
Five, of course. Yeah,
we're still here, obviously on the same page. This is obviously a 5. I swear at some point we have to differ.
Yeah.
There's not much more I can really add to this without spoiling anything. Fantastic. This was so good. Bloody and gory and
high stakes.
Fantastic. Yeah. I mean, you feel it. Like, when you're reading this, it's so well written and it's so well drawn. Like, you feel the shit that's going on. Like, this fucking page was insane.
Yeah.
There was one page in here where Venom finally meets up with Eddie again, and just so good. Yeah, that was an easy 5.
I'm just happy to say it because sometimes these things, they get so hyped up.
Oh, and then they bomb.
Yeah, and for me, this totally delivered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they try to, like, make sure everyone buys it, and then it's like, wah, wah.
Yeah. No, great start.
I agree. It was so good. So my next one is Deceased. This is written by Tom Taylor, penciler Trevor Hairsine. This was... I enjoy this little side mini story. I think it's quite fun. And this issue really shows how far this infection has gotten. And how easy it is to become infected. And really, they are struggling to try to find a way to keep everything intact. And then the ending just looks like everything's imploding. I had given this a 4.
Yeah, I also enjoyed this. I always enjoy a good Elseworld tale, like out of continuity story from DC, like where people can die and it doesn't matter because it's not like actually in continuity.
It's not in their continuity.
So like they can kill characters off.
Yeah, like Batman's
dead. They can make big changes. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I liked that. The other story beat I really enjoyed in this was the fact that with Batman being dead, you actually see Damian finally to get the cowl.
Yeah, which, Alfred comes in.
That was pretty interesting. I mean, I know a lot of people hate on Damian, but I mean, the fact that he got that in that scene in this book, though, was a big game changer, I think, for kind of like them moving forward, like him being Batman. It was kind of cool to see, you know what I mean? Like, even though he hasn't really donned it as yet. Yeah, but like,
it was given to him, like, it's passed on.
And the cyborg shooting the fucking hole through Gargantua's head. Like, I did not expect that from him, so like, that was...
oh no, we can't kill her.
Yeah.
And you're like, well...
You're like, Cyborg, what do you do? He's like, they're all dead anyways, let's just move on, right? Like, yeah, that was awesome. So yeah, I also gave this a 4. Yeah, I thought it was
fun.
Another good addition to the ongoing story.
Yeah.
So yeah, I liked it. All right, so Dead Man Logan, number 10 of 12-issue series. I'm going to be sad to see this one go. I really have enjoyed this journey of Old Man Logan. This is written by Ed Brisson, art by Mike Henderson. Yeah, it was another good chapter. I like how at this point, I mean, he always has kind of done it throughout this series, but at this point, he's just playing with a lot more different Marvel characters, like in this timeline, in this existence of being now back in Old Man Logan's timeline.
Yeah.
So I liked seeing where some of the people ended up, like Speedball and his whole, climatic end here. And I won't explain what happens, but yeah, I'm sure if you have been reading this series prior to this, and they kind of... They dropped that really interesting tidbit about Speedball and like where he was at.
Yeah,
what
what's going on?
In the last issue. So, my favorite moment though in this issue had to be with this Hulk son. I love him.
The baby Hulk.
Yeah. He's awesome. I just like that. She's like, you stay here. He's like, you could read 1 or 2 books by the time I get back. But she's like, come on. Like they're trying to make a game out of it. Like, I bet you can't read 2 by the time I get back. It's like, but
he's like, Hulk just wants to smash.
Yeah, you basically find out in this, that Sabretooth, this whole time we've been seeing him trying to track down Wolverine the last couple issues, but in this, you find out that it was basically just a distraction for them to get their hands on the baby Hulk, the son of Hulk. So we'll see kind of where that leads us. But yeah, Forge held it down in this issue. That was cool. And yeah, like I said, my favorite moments were with Hulk in this particular one. I liked him a lot, and so I'm looking forward to the wrap up of the series. Mike Henderson, always good
Very
work
good,
as always.
yeah.
Love his stuff. I give this a 4.
Ooh, we differ. I gave this a 4.5.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought this was great. The same moments that you really enjoyed with the baby Hulk, I thought was jokes. And then the fact that they're like, we've given him so many tranquilizers, this could take out a T-Rex on steroids.
Yeah.
Which I thought was just kind of funny. Yeah. It's really showing the power to this Hulk. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I had given this a 4.5. It was just a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. And the art is so good.
Yep.
So my next book is The Sea of Stars. This is co-written by Jason Aaron and Dennis Hallam. Artist is Stephen Green. The colorist I want to make note is Rico Renzi, because I love the colors on this book. Mm-hmm. They're very striking. I like the use of, very contrasting colors. It makes for a very interesting read and very space-like issue. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this one you get to see more of like the father's perspective and, his realization that when he's finally realized he's out of the main danger and his son is now missing, and he's trying to do everything in his power to get back to him now, with all of his equipment is, destroyed almost, and everything's kind of depleted. He's got to go through and try to find his way to any type of hope, and then he finds this spaceship that he can kind of get to on his last breath of oxygen, and he gets in there and all this thing wants to do is kill him. Which I thought was pretty funny. And then
there was like some vine creature actually in the hull.
It was like a vine creature and some old ass robot equipment that he noticed there. And then you get a 1-page with his son, still with this monkey and fish characters, which I think are jokes. I love them. And then at the very end, you get this new character that's arisen, and you're kind of getting a little bit more tidbits of information of what's coming. Mm-hmm. So I give this a 5.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this issue as well. My favorite part about this was to see the father kind of down and out and constantly in trouble in this, and basically seeing him kind of it seems like he'd do anything to kind of overcome and get back to his son. You saw him some desperation moves, even when the vine creature had him, he's like, oh yeah, you want to do this, all right, and he fucking bit the creature.
Yeah, you want to bite me, I'll bite you back.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was just one shitty thing after another that ended up happening to him in this issue, and just to see him kind of try to overcome all that and just do whatever he has to kind of get by and kind of get back to his son. I really liked that. I thought that was really, really cool, about this character. I've never seen a character bite another creature that was attacking him that. So that's what I mean. I was like, wow, this guy will fucking do anything. He's just, trying to get back to his son. A father
trying to do right,
so, yeah. So I really enjoyed that part about it. It's good. The story that's developing is interesting. I wish... I don't know how the dividing of writing is going on in this. I don't know if Jason Aaron's just writing one character and Dennis Hallam is writing the other character. I don't know. Because, you kind of got that each issue so far. It was divided by scenes of the son and scenes of the father. And that's probably what they're doing, I think. That would make sense to me. Because each scene of these two characters being separated from each other is so divided that it could easily be one person putting in the script.
One person is doing one thing.
Exactly. So... I wonder. I mean, I would like to... I might have to look into that and see, because I'm just curious. Not that Jason Aaron has a voice. I mean, he's written so many different types of books that I can never tell.
Oh, no. And he always he's able to merge himself into different things. Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah. I enjoyed this, but I gave it a 4.5. And my question to you now... is something that will come up on the show occasionally. You'll hear me say, ask Christine, is whether or not this is a book that we should continue to be reading in issues, or if it's something that you think might read better in a trade format. Because for all those that don't know, when the book gets collected and it's 5 or 6 issues in one paperback, it sometimes reads better as one big chunk as instead of month to month, or with these image books every 6 weeks. Sometimes one will come out, right? And I don't know. So what do you think?
This one I kind of want to read in issues. Okay. I like having the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And I like that kind of amped up.
Yeah, the pacing has been good so far. I mean, I could go either way, to be honest, with this one. But yeah, if you want to continue with it, then yeah, we'll continue with reading it in issues, yeah. And my last book here is Space Bandits, number 2. This was awesome. I mean, the first issue was such a great debut issue. I believe it was my favorite of the week when we had talked about it. It may have been our first show, actually, we even did. Or first or second show.
Yeah. I think it was our second.
Yeah. I mean, this just continued that for me. I thought this was excellent. The thing that was cool about this is now that we have these two women together that met in this, the crustacean, this jail at the end of the first issue, both their kind of fates had aligned themselves with trying to get revenge on the men who wronged them and basically put them in this position to be in jail. This issue was good because by the end of it, they already sprung the joint. Like they kind of like they're already out of jail and they're on their way to get revenge. So like this is just like a great fun revenge story, and I love that kind of shit. So like. They already took down one of their targets by the end of this. I think the pacing in this series has just been really, really good so far. Like I was surprised to see them already get out of there by the end of this issue, but then usually with Mark Millar they're only 5-6 issue miniseries.
Yeah, so it's got to move along.
Yeah. So I just like these two characters quite a bit and what they stand for, and I also love how the one character, I'm sorry I'm forgetting their names right now. She basically fought in the fight. Like the whole plan was to be in this fight to kind of get them out of prison if they won the
it was like a whole competition type of thing, like think of Dragon Ball.
If they won this
big tournament,
this big tournament, they would actually be let free. But they're like, there's way more tough people in here than we anticipated.
She's like, I got this.
Yeah, and then she gets her ass kicked. Like, I thought that was good because I'm like, realistically, if you saw the size of some of these people they were fighting, like, that would make sense.
In a one-on-one situation, yeah.
So, like, but the main characters don't always go out on top. I like how they kind of had to take a step back there and, like, kind of
and then it's like 6 months later, and then they finally get out.
But, I mean, all this plus Matteo Scalera's art, can't go wrong. I'm really looking forward to the next issue. I gave this a 5.
Yeah, this was awesome. I really, really liked this issue. Like you said, with the two main characters, both being females trying to get revenge. That's pretty friggin' awesome, and they're both badass. One's the very technical mind behind it, and the other one's the brute force. Mm-hmm. And then the little thing that I thought was funny was just that there's this little lizard that got taken away.
Yeah.
And now they're trying to, that's part of their mission now, is to get the lizard back.
Yeah. Because, like, it's one of those things where her race is, like...
Endangered species, so...
Yeah, but the woman's race of people, they, like, mind meld with it. Like, they're kind of like, they're, like, one, you know what I mean? Like, they kind of...
Like, they have a connection
can... That's it, between the lizard and her people. Like,
so it's, like, able to speak to her and everything like that. And he was doing kind of her spy work, which I thought was awesome. So, I also gave this a 5. I thought it was fantastic.
Yep.
So much fun.
Yeah.
So great art. Oh, my God. I can't even put words together there. So, for my last book, this one is very, very fun for me. This is 4 years in the making, I think. This is Roman Dirge's Lenore. We finally have some new Lenore, and this did not disappoint. Mm-hmm. This is such a silly, fun, dark book, and if you have that type of, I kind of guess it's kind of like a gothic style.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's kind of like an Invader Zim, but not. But I don't know how to classify it.
Kind of like Tim Burton-ish, I would say.
Yeah, it's got a lot of Tim Burton-esque type of looks or feels.
Johnny the homicidal maniac who made Invader Zim. Like, if you're into any of those kind of comics, I think this would be up your alley.
Just very dark, kind of goofy. Don't take yourself seriously. This was hilarious. I had so many good belly laughs in this. This one, they basically know that it is being 4 years, and they have Lenore and her little characters. One of them's name is Pootie. And they have been locked in their house for 4 years, and they've had no food, and they're both starving, and they're trying to figure out a way to eat because there's a little monster outside. And this weird little monster, where you have no context, has now kept them in their house for 4 years. And there's a raccoon that they think is being taxidermied, but in reality it ends up moving and they eat it. And then there's they're called time goats, have showed up. And there's a deranged pickle hat that is murderous that Pootie wants to kill. And Lenore refuses because she's now created this whole connection with this deranged pickle hat. And then you find out that the time goats come into play when the pickle hat is being threatened. And if this pickle hat gets killed, then the whole time something really bad will happen. Is basically what it will we kind of find out, but you don't know what, because Lenore and Pootie don't understand goat. So all the warnings that these goats are giving, they don't understand.
Not picking up on them.
Yeah, I loved this. This was so much fun. I gave it a 5. It was just so enjoyable. I'm so happy it's back.
Well, good. I'm happy for you. Okay, so that was another great week of comics. Shall we get into our favorites of the week?
I think I started last time, so I think it's your turn to go first.
Absolute Carnage.
I figured.
Yeah. No doubt in my mind. There really wasn't that much competition for me this week. Like, there was a couple others that I could have made an argument for, but for me, I mean, the art alone on that for me was it made it a contender, but then the great impact and start to this event and with how good like the series has been leading into this, and it's Spider-Man related for me, that had to take it this week. So the only other one I could make a argument for a contender was Space Bandits, I think, this week.
Mine are the same too.
Yeah, so like for me, like I just enjoyed my time so much reading that book, and there's nothing bad about it at all. It's just for Absolute Carnage being the first one out. It was like I said, it lived up to the hype. So
yeah. I've got to give it to that too. And also, just because it was an oversized issue, that was the entire issue.
Yeah.
Like, that was a huge thing for Marvel to actually do. Yeah,
because I was half expecting that not to be the case.
No, it'd be like half of the book, and then the other half is bullshit filler. Yeah. That you're spending extra money on. Yeah. But yeah, Absolute Carnage was my favorite of the week as well. And then Space Bandits would have been my very close second.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah.
Fuck. So there's a lot of stuff we agreed on.
We were very similar this week.
Yeah. Some weeks will be like that. Some weeks will be like a couple of shows
very
ago
dispute,
where we weren't agreeing on anything. No. Yeah. So that's just how it goes. That's how it goes. All right. So thanks everybody for joining us once again on Weekly Wine Comic Time. Make sure to check out the Late Night Chat Network page on SoundCloud. I recently have updated all of our playlists on there. So we have lots of content for you. We bring out shows every week. On Monday, we got our Weekly Wine Comic Time show, this show. On Wednesdays, we got the Late Night Chat with JT and Nico show. And then on Friday, we do, I do a show called Trade Talk, where I talked about the collected edition comics that I read week to week. So basically, the paperbacks that come out that collect 5 or 6 issues of a series. I talk about that, so it's just more of I don't really rate them. It's just more of a
discussion,
a deeper dive and discussion about something I read and my thoughts on it, to kind of let you guys know in case you were thinking of picking them up. So so we'll
a lot of content, a lot of diversity, something for everyone there.
All right, thanks again, guys.
Thank
See you guys next time.